Okay.
Okay, we are now live, and I will call to order the June 21st meeting of the Norwalk Police Commission. We have a quorum, and I will ask for approval of a motion to approve the minutes of May 17th, 2021.
So moved.
Commissioner Collier Clemens has moved the item. Are there any corrections, deletions, omissions that needed to be added?
I have one correction on page 4.
Okay,
On that last line. It begins with was not able to use off. Off should be all, ALL,
okay.
if it's vacation time.
Any further corrections? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as corrected?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Manzi?
Yes, if anyone would like to make a comment, please raise your hand electronically now. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if you're going over, I will let you know to wrap it up. The first person we have is Laura Bocadoro. Laura, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, hello. I'm not sure if you can see me. I can't see myself. Well, obviously, I'm not Laura Bocadoro. Max Cisneros. I'm using my coworkers. I had not known I was using my coworkers' Zoom account. But anyhow, Max Cisneros, I'll put that in my email and if I can in the chat to clarify that piece. But anyway, what I wanted to say primarily was Max Cisneros, 1 North Avenue in Norwalk, Connecticut. And what I primarily wanted to say was inform this commission about 2 specific incidents that went down earlier this year. One of them was in March, and another one was about 2 years ago, but there was an attempt to report it earlier this year. One of the incidents happened to be last week on I believe it was the 16th, Wednesday, and there was a young lady who experienced a rape in this city. She experienced a rape 2 years ago, and she doesn't speak very much English. And she works in the city, actually on the front lines as far as the pandemic is concerned. And she was very fearful of reporting this rape for different reasons. Eventually, there's another person who I believe is in this meeting virtually. Her name is Laura Garcia. She could speak to more details about this. But I wanted to bring this up and put it in the context of these 2 incidents. But basically what happened is after 2 years of grappling with this, she decided to report this incident, and she could only really get there after work, which was after 5. And so she arrived at 6 o'clock with this young lady who I mentioned, Laura Garcia, who encouraged her to report the incident. And she was waiting in the police department for 3 hours. She got there at 6 and she left there at 9:30. Laura Garcia had her children in the car, therefore she couldn't keep waiting any longer. So she ended up leaving there. So she was waiting to speak to somebody who spoke Spanish. And that was the reason why it took, I would assume that was the reason why it took so long to actually see somebody and report this 2-year-old incident. Again, 2 years because she was afraid of showing up at the police station. Imagine waiting in there, waiting for someone to speak to you. So that's the first incident. The second one had to do with one that happened in the South Sono area. And it had to do with a young, directly with Laura Garcia's family. And her family, her mother-in-law specifically, was moving. And the car was in the driveway. The car that was being loaded up was in the driveway. And the neighbor who came out very annoyed, very irritated, started yelling, please move your car to the driveway, screaming obscenities. And even though these folks couldn't speak English or understand it all that well, they totally knew where this guy was coming from. Anyway, it got so bad that he struck one of the movers. The mother-in-law, very afraid, called the cops, and the police showed up. Nobody spoke Spanish. Nobody on this end of the family spoke Spanish other than the irate neighbor. And then at one point, the irate neighbor starts yelling at the mother-in-law, Laura's mother-in-law. She's a crazy woman. She's a crazy woman. And one of the police officers, I believe Laura has a video of the incident. One of the police officers supposedly who didn't speak any Spanish. The only thing they can muster was accusing the woman of being crazy. They asked her in Spanish, "Usted está loca en la cabeza?" Signaling this en la cabeza.
Yes,
So,
excuse me, you're beyond 3 minutes. If you could
okay.
wrap it
Yeah,
up.
so see, I'll just wrap it up real quick. Thank you for letting me know. I just wanted to explain that these two incidents speak to the lack of language justice from the department. There's 27% of this city is Hispanic. I'd imagine that a great deal of that majority is people who do not speak English. And I think the term language justice is something that needs to be understood, not just by the city, but by the department. And it is a powerful way to describe individuals' fundamental right to have a voice be heard. I would imagine that the police department would want folks to make it easier for folks to report these incidents, whether they be thefts, rape, or sexual assault. So I am asking the police department, and again, Laura has more details regarding to these specific incidents, of which I have heard many more, but I am asking the police department and the mayor to look at these incidents and figure out ways to make it easier for non-English speakers to be able to report crimes that I would imagine the cops would want to be aware of. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Cisneros. We also have a letter from Ileana Zuniga addressing the same issue. We will be discussing it. We do have methods where people can get assistance, and I'm going to be speaking with the chief to find out, and the deputy chiefs, how we can find out how to enhance our ability, because you're right, there's a large Hispanic population in our community, and we want to make sure that they feel comfortable, number one, coming to the police department. We want to make sure that when they get here, they are attended to quickly so they don't get discouraged. Also, if you can reach out to Lieutenant Walsh, I'm sorry, Lieutenant Walsh, I'm going way back, Deputy Chief Walsh, regarding the woman who was unable to make a complaint. We would certainly reach out to her and assist her with her situation. Mr. Manzi, who is next to speak?
I don't see anyone. If you'd like to speak, please click the raise hand button on the bottom, or if you're on an iPad, you would have to swipe to see it. Would anyone else like to make a public comment? Okay.
Okay, I see
we have
three.
Yes, we have Lauren Millette. Lauren, you can unmute.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for giving me the time to speak. I just wanted to go on the record to say that, I echo the sentiments of Max. I'm a community organizer, and I speak with a lot of people in the community weekly about, how it is difficult to access the police, and how there is just a general lack of mistrust in general with especially our immigrant community here in Norwalk. But I also wanted to just make comment on what had happened in the prior weeks with the hiring of the new officers, and just wanted to hear more from the Police Commission about the hiring practices and, what is being proposed around changes there, to ensure that we are not hiring officers that are in the midst of any investigation, to ensure that we are building that trust with the community, because ideally, hiring folks with a sort of a clean background would be one of the ways in which we could mitigate that general mistrust occurring. So that is something I would like to hear from the Police Commission in regards to a follow-up from the events of the previous few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Millette. This is something that the Police Commission will be discussing, and we're looking at all aspects of the entry-level process to make sure that we're only using the best practices. And we will continue to do that. And we'll be talking about it.
Next, we have Jalen Seed.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jalen Seed. And we're at 140 Main Street in Norwalk, Connecticut. And I come here just as to kind of just piggyback off of Lauren. Just maybe just not to say the same thing she said, but I think we should make it clear that that we're not really want to say like we're against the police, but like this is like just a criticism that we see, especially with this hiring. This problematic hiring of the officers from Bridgeport. And we want the police, we want to have the same feeling about the police department that others have. And we want to feel protected and safe and not have this divide. But I think that it'd be good for the chief and other like ranking officers to just see the way that they address the public when they have a concern about the police department, because like some of the comments that were said in the media on Nancy on Norwalk and other things were troubling, especially like comments like if something were to happen, if something bad happened, we feel like the management isn't going to have our back, and they're going to throw us under the bus or they're going to throw us far away. And after conversations with leaders in the city, I think we can all agree if you do have a bad apple, we should throw them far away and not have them representing the force and tarnishing the badge for officers that are doing something good. And I think that we, as the public, just want to know that the police and the chief and everybody has the community's back, and isn't really going to protect that blue line, and is really just going to help the community and really protect and serve all of us. So I do think that we have some work to do with the hiring processes and possibly expanding the police commission. But I also think right now we can focus on just the police and community relations with activists and people in the urban communities to make sure that we're working things out instead of kind of the us versus them type of thing that seems to be going on. That's the end of my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Seed.
Next, we have Farah Marin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Farah Marin, and I reside at 63 Bayview Avenue in Norwalk. I wanted to start by saying thank you to the mayor and the chief for their prompt response on the recent hiring of the 2 officers from Bridgeport, which includes Mr. Pricep. So I would like to start by saying I appreciate the prompt response, but I also would like to highlight the importance of this hire and what it has really, shed a light on, and that is the hiring practices within our department and within this commission. And I would urge all of you to re-examine the hiring processes that we have, and to make it very clear to the public, how officers could be sworn in despite being involved in a police shooting of a 14-year-old child and being included in an ongoing investigation of an officer involved in police brutality. With that said, I would like to also encourage you all to lean into this moment and re-examine how we handle hiring practices, as well as revising the charter to ensure that more folks are represented on this police commission. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Marin.
Next, we have Megan.
Hello, my name is Megan McNeil. I'm at 26 First Street. I have a similar question or comment. I think there was one thing that came out of the little hiring debacle last month, and I think it was the statement that the police commission would be expanded to be larger and more diverse and inclusive, and include a civilian review board to participate in hiring and misconduct stuff. And so I was hoping to see that would either be responded to or discussed tonight at the very least, to see how the police commission could be made larger and how there could be more civilian oversight to those practices. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dan Derbandi.
Hi, yes, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the commission for letting me speak. I just want to echo what Farah, Jalen, and Lauren have brought up, and I believe Megan as well. First, I want to thank you for acting quickly to address the issues and rescinding the offers to these two officers. I do want to note that I was disappointed to hear of the offer that was extended. I just wanted to note that I've had friends who are highly qualified with, extensive backgrounds in public service who have applied for positions with the city of Norwalk, who haven't even received an interview. And then I observed these two officers with documented abuses that seem to slip through the system without any due diligence being conducted. So mainly, I'm here to just make sure that the same high standards are being applied to all city employees, particularly those that are charged with ensuring the safety of my family and my neighbors. So appreciate you holding this space for us. And again, thank you for acting quickly, and just curious to see where this goes next. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Derbandi. I know that can somebody, chief or deputy chief, one of you, it's been requested that we read the letter from Ileana Zuniga. I think the email, did you get a copy of that?
Yes, I have it. You want me to read it into the record?
If you would read that into the record.
Okay, it was addressed to the commission and also copying me. Dear Chief Kulhalik and Mayor Rilling, this is a public comment that I wish to be read on tonight's meeting on the record. My name is Ileana Zuniga. I'm a resident at 8 Running Brook Lane, Norwalk, Connecticut, 06850. I would like to ask the commission to please support the effort of finding a way to help the people of our community that need police services and do not speak English. This past week alone, 2 people reached out to me through my group, Latinos Unidos Norwalk, to let me know that they were victims of abuse and were in the police station to report the incidents. In both cases, they were told upon arrival that they needed to wait for someone that spoke Spanish so she could be helped. In the first case, the woman was waiting for 2 hours until someone finally was able to assist. On the next day, another woman went for help and was asked the same thing, to wait for someone who spoke Spanish. After 1 hour, she reached out to me. I proceeded to email Sergeant Joseph Dinho, who was actually in the police department at the time and speaks Spanish. I asked him to please help this person. He kindly and promptly did. I am concerned that with a senior officer in the building that is fully bilingual, the officer at the front desk never thought of calling Sergeant Dinho for help upon this woman's arrival. And that was received today by email at 4:11.
Okay, thank you, Chief. That's been brought up a couple of times. I do know that the city subscribes to Language Line, and I believe the police department does have access to that.
Yeah, I think we did a quick check. Deputy Chief Walsh did a quick check. And in the one instance that was reported, the Spanish-speaking officer actually responded within 10 minutes to start the investigation. But because it required a detective, that was the delay to get a detective in order to obtain written statements, et cetera. It gets a little more complicated at that point. I'm not familiar with the other incident in question, though.
All right, and perhaps I know Deputy Chief Zek is on, and she handles most of the training. Perhaps we could do a briefing and a refresher on the use of the Language Line that we have access to, so that officers might be able to, if there's nobody in the building or readily accessible, at least we can let somebody know through Language Line what the anticipated wait will be or whatever.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Manzi? We have Sharon Benante, I believe, wishing to speak.
Yes. Sharon?
Hi, my name is Sharon Benante. I live at 64 Comstock Hill Ave. Good evening. Like many, I was also deeply concerned by the recent hiring of the new officers, and I really do appreciate the response by the mayor and the police commissioner. But what I find disappointing is that this happened on the heels of the Black Lives Matter movement and during a time when our city is trying to make progress. by investing and led by us in creating the Equity and Justice Commission for all. To continue this progress, we need to increase the trust, transparency, and unity between our citizens, the Norwalk Police Department, and our local government leaders. And I hope that we're able to learn from our mistakes and listen to the ask today, take action, and ensure that this never happens again. I hope we can expand the commission and also have more oversight. Our country needs unity, and unity begins with actions by each of you. It's going to help us heal. We all have to do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Brian Merlin.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
you have an echo.
Sorry, let me get away from the other device. So my question was, I was hoping that after the issue with Fedor Auto Body and the targeting of immigrants, that we could work on trying to get a sanctuary city status language. I know that the mayor of New Haven says there's, tons of benefits to it. And part of my concern is that, in Fedor's case, it was like he was weaponizing the police force against the immigrant community, against people he perceived to have,
Mr. Merlin, if you could refrain from using identifying names of businesses and so forth, that
Okay.
just
Yeah,
allude to
sorry.
the incident, we would appreciate it.
Understood. Yeah, so, I'm concerned about the marginalized and the vulnerable, and I would love to see sanctuary city status language, because I think there's a lot of immigrants who are afraid to report crimes. Like, I know they were referring to the issue that we didn't have a translator in a timely manner. I know even just convincing that victim and many victims to go in was a huge ordeal, and they felt very intimidated doing so. And so, I'd love to see you guys implement this language, because I think, if racism is a public health threat in Connecticut, we need to have police who can protect everybody, and we need to make sure that the immigrant community feels safe when they're the victims of crimes to go to the authorities, And that's it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If anyone else would like to make public comment, please raise your hand electronically now. I believe that was the last comment, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Chief or Deputy Chiefs, do you have any other, or commissioners, any other correspondence that you have received that should be read into the record?
I do not, just the one email we just got.
Okay, so we will move on to the other part of the agenda. Next item is recognition, the May officers of the month, Officer Raul Alderando and Officer Stephen Kauf. Chief?
Yeah, so this this refers back to May 6th at about 12:40 in the afternoon. Officer Kauf was working an extra duty assignment on Water Street, I believe on a construction project. He observed a vehicle that was operating recklessly. He ran the plate and determined it was a stolen vehicle. He did not engage in pursuit, as we're not allowed to do that, but instead he notified headquarters and began checking the area. Officer Alderando, who was responding to assist him, observed the vehicle parked on Meadow Street, and he observed a male walking away from the area. He detained the male and determined with Officer Alderando that in fact was the driver of the vehicle at the time that Officer Kauf saw it. The individual was then taken into custody for possessing the stolen vehicle without any incident. And this was recommended by Lieutenant Hume, and we agreed that they both did an outstanding job, and especially Officer Kauf, who was working an extra duty assignment when this occurred as well. We thought they were deserving of Officers of the Month for May 2021.
Thank you, Chief. I definitely agree, and I see you sent them a memo thanking them on behalf of the Board of Police Commissioners and the department. Again, another example of good police work and good observational skills and handling a situation without any problems or with keeping in mind the safety of all the people involved. Commissioners, do you have any other comments?
Good work.
You're both on mute.
I'm just saying good work to the officers and thanks for bringing this forward and bringing it to our attention.
Just like to highlight the good collaboration between the off-duty police officer and also the on-duty in bringing the apprehension of the criminal to a conclusion.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I had
I'm
one question regarding the email that we received. Do I need to include that with the minutes, or by reading it into the record, does that suffice?
I would include it with the minutes just because it was a written statement. So yeah, I would include it. And as I said, we need to look at this whole issue of language availability and see how we can improve upon that. Operations, patrol staffing, Deputy Chief Walsh.
Good afternoon. For May 2021, there was 175 sworn personnel. For May, we had 6 patrolman vacancies, 175 and a quarter sick days used by sworn personnel, 160.5 workman's comp days, 7 officers were on extended workman's comp. We currently have 3 officers on light duty in the building. Detective Bureau activity for May of 2021 was busy. They had 11 burglaries into motor vehicles, 2 robberies, 3 larcenies, 2 shootings with victim, 2 shootings with no victim, 3 death investigations, 10 overdose investigations with 2 fatal, 9 other investigations, 2 homicides, and 4 sexual assaults. Some of the significant cases, the homicide investigation into Timothy Canty on Suncrest Road, and the homicide suicide on Chatham Drive. Special services activity for May 2021. They opened up 34 cases, made 12 felony arrests. They executed 11 warrants and 4 search warrants. They conducted 3 liquor compliance checks conducted on establishments on Washington Street. As we reopen more from COVID protocols, we see a lot more activity along Washington Street. So we'll be conducting more compliance checks. We assisted the Stanford Police Department conduct a search warrant at 10 Neptune Avenue, 4.5 ounces of cocaine recovered, and arrested 1 individual on possession and sale charges. Search warrant executed and large amount of cocaine recovered on Trinity Place. Special Victims Unit was also busy in May 2021. 55 cases, and they executed 2 search warrants. There was an issue of late night parties that were waiting in elementary school on the grounds. We discovered, so we put some extra observation posts on the weekends to deter further activity. We did break up a couple of parties, and trespass warnings were issued. Currently conducting a death investigation of a special needs student, and investigated with arrest of a video provided of a fight between students that occurred at Kendall Elementary School. Traffic unit activity, May 2021, they made 399 stops. They issued 65 citations, 6 misdemeanor arrests, 129 written warnings, and 33 verbal warnings. Officer Nieves and Wargo were selected to attend the police motorcycle certification class. They started today. They did go to the pre-course early this month, and they did go through some training in May to prepare themselves. They also handled the Norwalk Police Memorial Ceremony on May 13th. And they also handled the logistics for the Rowayton and Norwalk Memorial Day parades through community services. Total criminal arrests, May 2021, 149. Patrol division calls for service, 4,744 in the month of May. For infractions, written warnings, and misdemeanor summons, there was a total of 237 issued for the month of May, 82 for speeding, 121 for stop sign, 10 for control signals, 24 for no license, 6 suspended license, 8 for no insurance. There was 21 cell phone violations and 1 DUI arrest made.
So I noticed the May cases were down to 237. That's quite a drop from April.
Yes, we did lose an officer in the traffic unit. A transfer was made. So we did lose some manpower, and we do have some increased vacation usage. As we get towards the end of the fiscal year, officers are trying to use some vacation time. Sergeant Calise and Lieutenant Dino are on it, and we're addressing it with the manpower available.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Thank you for the report, Deputy Chief Foss.
No, I have no questions at this time.
Thank you.
Do we notice, I see you had 4,744 calls for service in the patrol division alone. Are we noticing a significant or any increase now that we're sort of getting back to business as usual or some degree of normalcy after the COVID restrictions?
Yes, I was discussing with Chief Kahalik this morning. We've had a significant increase, especially on the first platoon between 2300, 11 o'clock and 0300. Bar activity has increased compared to last June, from June 1st to June 21st, the same time span, both years, it's almost doubled our call volume on midnight. So we'll be addressing that with more manpower. And also 3 to 11 has also picked up. We'll be looking at increasing manpower also there.
Yeah, I've noticed that there are a lot of people out, enjoying themselves because of, they haven't been able to do that.
Yes.
So, okay. Next item is the May training report, administrative report, Deputy Chief Zecca.
For May, we're finishing up a review credit cycle for a third of the department. So for those classes, it was DUI enforcement, our holding facility, hate and bias crimes, arrest and control, rape, crisis, and sexual assault, and citizens with special needs. And I want to note on that personnel from Bridges by Epic conducted that training for us, and it was extremely well received. They did a tremendous job, and it was very helpful. Additionally to that, we did some of our annual training, which is legal updates, less lethal weapons and firearms training. A few officers had their NCIC recertifications. On a monthly basis, we had our crisis negotiation team and our ESU team did their monthly training. And then the other specialized training of note would be, we had 2 supervisors from our ESU team attend an NTOA training management and risk mitigation for that team. We had 1 detective attend a homicide investigation class, and then the chief also.
Nope, I think you froze up.
I'll finish your statement. I attended the Connecticut Police Chiefs Executive Training in May.
Okay. Okay, until she can rejoin us. That may have been the end of her report, but why don't we move on to personnel matters? And the first item would be tuition reimbursement for Sergeant Rafael Fonseca.
Yep, this is a standard request. He's finishing his master's degree at University of New Haven and requesting a 50% reimbursement. This was approved at a prior police commission meeting, and the paperwork is all in order.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I so move.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Before we move on, Deputy Chief Zecca, was your report completed?
Apologize for that. That was, I was just about wrapping up. So that is in general the remaining of the training for
Okay.
for the year.
Does the police commission have any questions of Deputy Chief Zecca?
For me, thank you.
I would just note that it was a total of 149 classroom hours with a 1,248 total student hours of training for the month.
Very good. Next, tuition reimbursement for Sergeant Ryan Evarts. Can I have a motion?
I so move.
Commissioner Clemens has moved, Collier Clemens has moved. Chief?
Yeah, this is another regular request. He's getting his master's at Sacred Heart. I did reach out to him prior to leaving to try to get the date of the meeting where this was approved. I recall it being approved, but he didn't put the date in. So we'll need to research that and add that back in. But his request is for 50% reimbursement, 1370.33.
Okay, Commissioner Collier
Excuse me.
Clemens has moved the item. Commissioner?
Excuse me, Chief, did you say 1370 or 1570?
$1,370.32.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, bachelor's degree annual stipend for Officer Samantha Bardos. Can I have a motion?
Move the item.
Commissioner Sternidi moves the item. Chief?
Yep, she provided her diploma showing that she has the Bachelor of Arts degree, which entitles her to the pay stipend per the contract. So just a normal request.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
No questions.
All in favor of the item?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is discussion of approval on revised police manual.
Yeah, this is just a reminder. If you had any input on the proposed revisions to the manual, I'd like to have it on the July Police Commission meeting for final approval. And I would, if you have any revisions, if you can get them to me, and then I'll put the final draft with the agenda for the July meeting.
I do have a couple of things that I've observed. I don't know if they've been corrected or not, but I have it in my office on my desk, and I will check that first thing in the morning. Commissioners, have you had an opportunity, or you any comments?
I've read through most of it. I have like a couple pages left. I don't have any comments at this time, but I might once I finish it.
I've read through all of it, and I'll make comments to you later, Chief.
Okay. Next item is discussion on revisions to candidates' background procedures and entry-level testing. Chief?
Yeah, so you had asked us to, well, we had already started, but obviously you had also asked us to review our background process and see where we could improve things. So we took a look at that. We had a working group that met last week with the supervisors that oversee the background investigators along with training, and myself and the two deputy chiefs. And we went over our whole process. And what we did see is that while our process is pretty standard with what's done across the state, there are things that we thought we could do to improve that. So basically, I'm just going to go through a few checklist kind of thing of what we talked about and what we're looking to do. We're reviewing the entire checklist that we use. The investigators use a checklist to hit different areas that we want them to look at. So we're going through that. We're going to update that checklist. We had some good ideas that were raised to add that, such as checking for maiden names, which has not been done. We're also going to be instituting using Pacer, which is an online system that checks for civil suits, federal civil suits that are not maybe public or not reported on, but this Pacer system will allow us to run people's names through there and see if there's any suits that are pending. We're also going to have our investigators review if there is previous contacts that an officer, well, this is for laterals primarily, has with their previous agency regarding any IA investigations, even if they were exonerated or cleared. We want them to get copies, if possible, of all that information so we can review it ourselves. We're also going to be instituting, or we're getting a final quote now, but a software program, which is an online tracking system, which will allow the entire background process to be tracked online in real time, which will allow myself, the 2 deputies, and the commission full access to all the information at any given time. And to go along with that, what we're looking to do is to add a commissioner's interview as the last step of the process, where you'd have access to the entire background portfolio online. And if there's any particular information in there that you see that maybe we didn't specifically point out to you, then you'll be able to do that as well, and then question the candidates more specifically on any information. One other thing we're gonna add to our system, the way it works now is myself and the deputies interview all candidates, whether they're lateral or not, prior to bringing them forth to the commission. We're going to be adding a questionnaire, a pre-questionnaire that we'll give to the candidates to ask them a variety of questions that we're allowed to ask before giving them a conditional offer of employment. There's certain questions we can't ask until we actually give a formal offer. But prior to that, we have developed a series of questions we're going to be asking them to complete as a starting point when we first interview the candidate that comes in. And then we can then be better able to vet any specific information that they provide, specifically to any high profile incidents they were involved in, any firearm discharges, if they were witness to any high profile incidents, are they the subject of any civil suits? Have they been a subject to a previous civil suit? Any investigations involving the state police or the state's attorney or prior? If they've applied to other departments or been refused by other departments. Again, some of this comes up in the polygraph, but we want to try to get that ahead of time and try to vet that with the candidates right up front. That's just some of the things we're going to be doing. We're also looking at all our people are trained in doing backgrounds, but we're going to be sending them to new training. There's a course that's being offered in the coming month, a month or two. And we're going to try to get all our background investigators to that updated refresher course on conducting background investigations. I think that's it. Deputy Chief Zecker or Wallace, do you have anything that I missed or anything you want to add to that?
I think you pretty much covered most of it. In terms of our entry level, we may be looking at a little bit different way of potentially doing our testing in the first place as well. And
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to talk about that. So what we have been doing since, as far as I can remember, is we've always done our own testing.
Written test.
Written test. And obviously that's a big process. So we basically were doing it every 2 years. And what we found that there are a lot of individuals that may contact us that are interested in the department, but if we just gave a test and they happen to miss it, it could be 2 years before they have another opportunity. So what we're going to do is what a lot of agencies in the state have done is they're going to the Connecticut Police Chiefs Association. They are doing or coordinating testing around the state on an ongoing basis. So we basically can then recruit year round as opposed to just for one particular test. And that way we'll have a lot more opportunity for a lot more candidates and hopefully more local candidates, because we have lost a few local candidates that went to other departments because we weren't testing at the time. So this will allow anyone interested in our agency pretty much to take the test within a month or so. And if they check off the box that they're interested in Norwalk, we'd be notified, and then we could reach out to interview, preliminary interview. We'd have to figure out how we would handle that with the panel. Because as Commissioner Collier Clemens knows, she has been sitting on the screening panel for a number of years. We'll have to figure out how best to handle that. But I think it'll make it easier on the panel as opposed to interviewing 60 candidates in a week. You may only have to interview 3 or 4 a month or something like that. So we can do, I think, a more in-depth interview as well without taking up a lot of time with the individuals that volunteer to be on that panel. So I think overall, I think it's going to be a better system, give us a more wide range of candidates, and then be able to recruit on an ongoing basis as well for the entry-level candidates.
Okay, well, thank you, Chief, for that update. Commissioners, any comments or questions?
Well, I think that the Chief touched on a lot of important aspects, and I think that it all sounds like really good changes. I like that it seems like we're going to be streamlining things and everything. So I think that's going to be helpful to everybody involved, get some of the information up front instead of, waiting until further along in the process. And I definitely think that, putting us on the state system for testing is really helpful. I know, personally, my son is applying to different departments and he wants to be in Norwalk, but, the testing isn't open now. So he's going for where testing is open. So I think that to have the ability to, we're losing a lot of local talent, to have the ability to do that on an ongoing basis, I think would be great. And to, the Chief pointed out, to lighten the load for the interview board, to be able to have them on a more regular basis instead of having so many all in one shot, I think would be great. And I think, it seems like there's going to continuously be a need for officers and everything, for a variety of different reasons, including people that are regularly retiring and everything. So I think to just to make it so that we have accessibility to the best pool of candidates possible at all times is going to be really helpful and put us, on a really good footing. So great work for all the things that you guys have been exploring in the last, recent past here and everything. And that sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Collier Clemens?
Yes, I think in addition to reviewing the manual, updating the police manual, this comes at a really good time. And these items that I jotted down that you mentioned that are going to be put in place, I think are excellent additions to what we've already been doing, and also changing some of the little outdated ways in which we do background checks, and having everyone who's involved in it apprised of the changes and keeping them updated. So I think that we're on the right road to fill in some gaps that we may not have been aware that we needed to look at. So thank you so much for that think tank.
Thank you. Okay, next item, informational items. Chief, the complimentary letters.
Yep, there are a number of letters you see in here this month, and a lot of them are from residents in the area of Witch Lane. And we had some enforcement there. We had gotten complaints regarding the stop sign there and some other traffic issues. And our traffic unit went down there and did a great job. And we received, I believe, probably 4 or 5 of these letters are all related to that. Actually, probably 6 of these letters, all related to that. The people happy to see that and that it went a long way. Also, a letter from Lieutenant Dinho just reminding me of the great job that Sergeant Galino did with the Police Memorial Service. And I echo his comments. As you know, we weren't sure we were going to have the service this year originally because of COVID. Then we thought we might be able to do something very small, and then things changed rapidly, And in a short period of time, she put together a really nice service, and we were able to have pretty much a fairly normal memorial service after all, which we never thought was possible just a couple weeks earlier. Also have a letter from Norwalk Hospital from Aaron Katz. He's the EMS coordinator there. He was congratulating the excellent job done by officers at the scene of one of the recent shootings, and how they did a great job with medical aid to the victim, and also reporting their findings as the EMS crew arrived and working together with them. He said their performance was textbook, and it makes him proud to work in a city with such excellent public safety partners. Those are Rich Lane and Hunt. This is a letter we received from a resident regarding, they were out to dinner. Their ring notification popped up. They saw there was a police officer at the door. They were unable to speak through the door, or through the device. However, they were able to call into dispatch, and they were able to relay through the officer, through dispatch to the officer who called in, that the fact that everything was fine. It was a 911 call that was a mistake, and they were pleased with the response of the officer and how they handled it. And this is another voicemail received regarding Sergeant Galino. She worked as a liaison for us with a individual who had some mental health issues, and the family reached out when she was able to provide them with some guidance on services that were available. She's not a Norwalk resident. She's from out of state and was looking for someone here to get some guidance, and Sergeant Galino was able to help her, assist her with her family member. And that is the last one.
All right, thank you. I can attest to the good work being done on Witch Lane by Old Trolley Way. Wednesday night, I had to attend 6 middle school graduations starting at 5:30. And I went the back road because I wanted to get to Brian McMahon High School, and there was a good presence there. I think the residents really appreciated it. A lot of good, positive comments from the community. I appreciate that, and I know the officers do too. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Well, I just, I always say this is one of my favorite parts of our meeting. And, I also, it's just a testament also to our good community police relations that we have, in addition to just good police work that we do, that our men and women do. But I noticed too, in marching in the parade with the police department on Memorial Day, a really nice outpouring of support from our community. A lot of positive comments as we were walking, and clapping, cheering, stuff like that. So it was really nice. I'm grateful that that our police are so supported in our community, and I think it's an effort that's also done by everybody on the upper levels also. And it's just really great. Makes me proud. So thanks.
Commissioner Collier-Clements?
Yes, this is always good to hear the good comments of what our police officers are doing, and kudos to the citizens who take the time to send an email or write a letter or a note to let them know how they were impacted by the helpfulness and the professionalism of our police officers. It's an encouragement to them, and we love to hear it also. But we're most proud that you are helping, and the citizen has helped themselves.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda, I'll need a motion to go into executive session.
I so move.
Commissioner Collier-Clements has moved the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is 5:54 and we are in executive session. So we have.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Manzi. We are now out of executive session at 6:34 p.m. During executive session, no motions were made, no votes were taken. There being the next meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners is July 19th, 2021. There being no further business to be before the Board of Police Commissioners, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Commissioner Struniti moves. All in favor?
Aye.
That's aye. At 6:35, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.